Hello, I'm Mary V. Today let's talk about what to do if you have pain in your left hand fingers. So there's a number of reasons why you might be having pain in your left hand fingers. One of the major things might be that you're simply pressing too hard. You shouldn't have to press incredibly hard to get your finger on the string, to press the string onto the fingerboard. So it might have become a habit. So one way around that is an exercise to do where you play so lightly that you're not making a proper note, that you play making whistles like this. So the idea is that you learn to play with fast fingers, but you don't have to press the string down, because there's a difference between pressing firmly and playing fast, because when you play fast you have to lighten your fingers. Now let's try and play it really fast. So let's go even faster. So I'm playing so lightly that it's not really making proper notes. And this is something you really need to do for quite a long time, so that you can teach your fingers to be able to move with speed. And then very, very slowly you press each individual finger down just enough to almost get it on the string, because you don't have to press right into the fingerboard. It's sort of 75%. You don't really need to press it all the way down to the fingerboard to get a proper note. So you need to reteach, spend a lot of time not doing any other kind of playing. At the same time, you need to keep the bow going, so it's rather tricky, but you do get used to it. And then go very slowly, and I'll just show you from another angle. Just on top of the string, and then so there's a tiny difference between pressing down very hard and pressing just enough to get a note to play. This is something you have to teach your fingers to do, and you've got to go back to scratch and reteach your fingers to play lightly if you have got into a habit of playing with far too much pressure. So there's another reason, which is quite common, where you might be getting pain at the tips of your fingers, and it's to do with the nail. It's to do with playing in a sort of upright manner, like that, and you're too much on the tips. There's a pad underneath, which is really a much better place to play the violin, because then there's room to roll forward and back like that. Whereas if you're playing on the tips and you're slightly rolling forward for vibrato, you're actually going into the area of the nail. You have to keep your nails extremely short, and that actually causes a lot of pain. Instead of looking like this, it looks more like that. You see the difference? So from playing in the upright, very close to the nail, like that. And hopefully you can see how much room the finger has to roll forward a little bit, and that's very important, because if you're very upright and you're playing on the tips, when you roll the finger, you're going into the nail part, just underneath the nail. And if you continuously do that, it will give you pain, because you're sort of breaching the nail's protection. Especially if you have to have very, very short nails for that. So it's much better to play on the pads. Now that takes quite a lot of changing, and the best way to handle that and to change that is to film yourself or do a lot of looking in the mirror, and also look at your fingers when they're beside you, and you can see what's going on with your fingers, whether you're very much on the tip or whether you're playing with the fingers slightly set back on the pad, on the fleshy part of the finger instead of the tip. So that's very common, and it takes quite a bit to change that. You have to set your hands back, and you've got to observe quite a lot of that and undo a lot of the muscle memory. But and here's another reason why you might be getting a lot of pain in your fingers, and it's that the bridge is too high. Because the bridge, if it's too high, it creates too much height above the fingerboard, between the fingerboard and the string, and there's a lot of effort and push, and you have to use extra effort to push the string onto the fingerboard to make a note. Now, this is actually quite common, that the bridge is too high. I put my violin in for repair and I received it back and the bridge was far too high. And I started getting very sore fingers because I was having to work so hard to push the string down. And it can make a massive difference. Even a couple of millimeters can make a massive difference. So that's something that you need to maybe Google and find out, and just ask yourself what the recommended height for a bridge might be, or maybe if you're able to take it to be fixed, and mention that it's very hard to push the strings down. So talking about strings, that's another reason. Modern strings feel, they have a core and an outer wrapping, and they should feel very, very comfortable. There are strings that are more comfortable than others. You can get strings that are completely steel strings, and they certainly feel a lot harder to the fingers. And old-fashioned or old steel strings that aren't up to modern standards can be very, very tough on your fingers and very quickly make the tips of your fingers feel extremely sore. So if you can, it's a really good idea if you can get hold of modern standard strings. But the major thing to do if you get pain is to stop. Stop playing, and if your left hand fingers are very sore, work on your bowing. Work on your beautiful bowing with lovely open strings, and work on bowing exercises that you make up. And stop using your fingers until you're ready to really examine what's going on very, very slowly. Start from scratch and be prepared to change what you're doing. It's really, really worthwhile spending time getting the basics right before you just try to sort of power through it. That never works, and it's incredibly ineffective, because violin technique is actually, and violin knowledge is all about making things easy, not making things very hard. Okay, so please try to remember that. If you feel pain, you need to examine it, and you probably will have to change. Now, this is a good thing, because you'll be playing better, you'll have a better technique. You'll be able to diagnose things, which is what a violinist has to do all the time. For years and years, you're always looking, changing things, moving away from things that are clumsy, not working, and especially not having pain. Now, we all get stiff and sore, and we all practice too much, and we have stiffness and soreness. That is sort of normal, but I'm not going to say that pain is okay. Pain is not okay. Pain is a warning sign to the body. So I've tried to tell you a few of the common reasons why you might be getting pain, but I think the way to cure it is to examine your playing and be prepared to try to change things. I know it's quite difficult if you're doing this on your own, and if you have any questions about your individual problem, or if you have any questions at all about this, then please message me and I'll try to help. Okay, so I'll leave it there, and good luck with your playing, and I'll say bye-bye for now. Bye.